Do your Mythic games feel too predictable once your character gets to higher levels? Like no matter what happens when random events occur, your character maintains control of the situation? Do you find yourself in a situation where the chaos factor continues to go down every single time until you're constantly stuck at a chaos factor of 1? In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix the chaos factor for more powerful characters when you're playing using the Mythic Game Master Emulator. And later, I will show you a real twist that will make the chaos factor more unpredictable again, even when your character feels unstoppable. One of the great joys that I experience with playing with Mythic is watching a character with whatever TTRPG game that I'm playing, watching that character go from the lower levels to the higher levels of the game. It's so fun to get that sense of accomplishment and watch that character get more powerful and more powerful. And what I like about it is when you're playing solo particularly, you're able to experience that so much faster because you don't have all that dead time between the time that you played with your group and the next time you're going to be able to get together with all those people to play with that same group. But if you're not careful with that growth, comes an unexpected side effect, and that is the chaos factor can begin to lose its bite. For higher level characters, altered scenes and interrupt scenes can simply be speed bumps instead of real roadblocks. The result, the chaos factor quickly goes down to 1, and the game doesn't become as fun anymore. If you've had this problem, I'm going to offer you several suggestions on how to fix this for higher level, more powerful characters. Step number 1, rethink what the chaos factor represents. By default, the chaos factor represents how out of control events are in this scene. At lower levels, it's very easy for events to become out of the character's control. But for more powerful characters, even unexpected situations can be dealt with pretty easily, and they can maintain control of the scene. So one way to look at this is don't necessarily look at how the character has control of the scene. Look at how the character has control of the events that occur as the world pushes back against that character. Case in point, for more powerful characters, enemies are going to escalate their tactics. So if the character easily dispatches the enemies that attack the character, the enemies will concoct even more additional plans to try to address dealing with that higher level character. If the character is unable to control the reactions to the character's power, you can look at that as the character is not necessarily in control, even though the character was successful in that particular scene. And you can represent that as the character being out of control and escalate the chaos factor in that fashion. The second way you can deal with this is to just increase the challenge of your scenes. In a traditional fantasy game, a group of goblins can potentially wipe out a whole low-level party. I know, I have wiped out whole low-level parties with goblins in my own adventures. However, for a higher-level character can handle those goblins without a problem. They're nothing more than a trivial inconvenience. An ancient red dragon, however, is a lot more than a trivial inconvenience, even for a higher level character. So maybe the issue is you're throwing too easy of challenges to your character, and you need to crank up the level of challenges that you throw at your character. You can also create challenges for higher level characters by putting them in situations where they can't use all of their capabilities. For instance, what if your high-level character is fighting under an anti-magic barrier? Now they can't use any of their magical spells. And now a character who would seemingly in most situations be in control is now definitely very much out of control. Another way you can look at it is even if the character is in control, you can do things to take the character out of control. For instance, if the character is just able to teleport away from the situation to get out of a hairy situation, maybe have the enemy respond by attacking and destroying a village that the character cares about. So here you have a high level character. They might be in control of the scene, but now they're completely out of control because the reaction to them escaping is the powerful character now destroys the village of people that character cares about, which now puts them out of control. So when you increase the challenges or when you make victory have consequences, that's how you can put the character out of control and begin to escalate the chaos factor once again. Another way you can address this is redefine your scene goals. For instance, if you're going into a dungeon, your goal might initially be to explore the dungeon and find out everything that's in it. So if you've made your way through the room without any incident, you're pretty much in control of the scene and your chaos factor is going to go down. However, if you change your goal to finding a powerful treasure that's within the dungeon and you search the room and you don't find that treasure, you're now out of control and now you can raise the chaos factor even for a more powerful character. Another way you can look at the chaos factor is you can look at whether the character's actions narrow the scope of the story or expand the scope of the story. So if the character's actions expand the scope of the story, then you can raise the chaos factor because the character is not necessarily in control anymore. If the character's actions narrow the scope of the story, then you can lower the chaos factor because the character is in control. Finally, one other step you can do is you can keep the chaos factor unpredictable. Here are a couple of ways you can do that. One way you can do that is you can set a floor for the chaos factor for higher level characters. So maybe if your character is a lower level character, you set the floor at 1. If your character is a medium range character, you set the floor at 3. If your character is a high level character, you set the floor at 5. So this way, even for higher level characters, the chaos factor is always going to be at least 5. So there's still going to always be a chance for unexpected things to happen. Another thing you can do is add additional variability to the chaos factor. One of the things you can do is in the Mythic Game Master Emulator 2nd edition, they have something called the Mid Chaos Factor. So you can try rolling on the Mid Chaos Factor table. Another thing you can do is you can roll on the normal chaos factor table and then use what's called a swing die. So you can roll like a D6 as a swing die. And if you roll 1 or 2, the chaos factor goes in the opposite direction of what you expected. So for instance, if the character was in control of the scene, but you roll on the swing die and you roll a 1, even though the chaos factor is supposed to go down, because you rolled a 1 on the swing die, you can increase the chaos factor. So high level characters should feel powerful. So I don't want to minimize the power of your high level character. Otherwise it defeats the point of putting in all that time to get your character to that high level. But just because you have a high level character, that doesn't mean that the story should just be tame. By scaling threats, refining goals, tying chaos to scope, and keeping the chaos factor unpredictable, these are all ways you can manipulate the chaos factor so that it will still feel unpredictable even for a higher level character. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and click on the like button, as this helps me to get these videos out to more tabletop role-playing game fans. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And then in the comments, go ahead and tell me what's the wildest chaos factor moment that you experienced in one of your solo games.